So this is a remote mount adapter that I've been waiting for a while. And so this, of course, threads into where the current alarm oil low pressure alarm light goes. So connect that to the engine block, connect that to that. This will now be relocated to this side, this end, and then I'll be able to tap a pressure gauge onto here. And also with this, since we're remote mounting it, we'll clamp it so that there's no weight or anything or stress on the connection here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where this can go and see what makes sense to pre-assemble, and then add it back up to the car. So I'm going to cut to that. Alright, so looking at this, it makes sense to get this installed in there first and then put the hose on. Got to make sure I mount it somewhere close because the connection for the low pressure warning light is here, so if I mount it too far, I gotta have to make this longer. And the connection here, as you can see, it's right there, and I'm on the side. This takes a 14 millimeter, and I'm not gonna go too tight with it. These, I'm gonna do something reasonable, put some thread sealant on it, and then before I put the under panel on, start the car and make sure nothing drips. If it turns out that leaks, I'll come by and tighten it a little further and see if that stops it. But so I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. And this takes a 14 millimeter socket over this. I'm going to go do that. All right, here we go, guys. Looking pretty good. I've left this side unassembled. See where I'm going to mount it first. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and mount this back up into place. There is a nut that you put up in there to connect this to the block, and I'm gonna do that next. So wanted to show you what I end up doing with the remote line there. So installed it. I put some a wire wrap around it, kind of the protectant loom around it, and I actually end up making a little bracket. I found an existing bolt, backed that out, made a little bracket to kind of hold it in place, and I also extended the dummy light sensor over, so I didn't have to keep it close to here. I extended over. I gave myself a good amount, so that is all plugged in, so that T adapter is kind of hanging out here, as you can see. It's kind of being held right here. I got everything back together and tried to start it up, and unfortunately I had some weepage coming out of this connection right here. I was reading online and some people having issues with that. They attribute it to the anodizing on this this sandwich plate being rough. So when I took this apart, I had to back this off. I didn't want to drain the oil, so it made a little bit of a mess. I ended up polishing that area. I ended up taking the washers out, polishing it. I had to reuse them because I didn't have that size washer. And I put it back together, tighten it on the bench as best as I can. And it did help with the weeping, but as you can see, it still is weeping out of there. Doing some looking online on what if this is a common issue with Mishimoto. I didn't see that, and Mishimoto also sells their own connections, which they don't use a O-ring. They don't use a copper gasket. They use what's called a dowty seal. So I decided to purchase those. I purchased a kit. So I'm going to do that one more time, take these out, and then put the dowty seal, which is a metal outside, and inside is a rubber seal. And I'm going to see if that helps it instead. I did end up, unfortunately, when I kind of took this apart, end up kind of crushing this a little bit. I may reuse this, but I also bought a new filter, and so I'm gonna have to take this apart one last time, hopefully, put it all back together and start it again. Hopefully this weeping goes away. As you can see, I was under here when I started the car, and it just starts weeping out right here, kind of right at that place. So any other connections were fine. It's not coming out from up there. It's just right there at the sandwich plate connection. So let me work on kind of getting this apart. I will just take it apart and go do it on the bench. I think that's works a little better. So let me take that apart and let me cut that. All right, so I got it out. We want to show you this. This was the area that I polished and flattened. I mean, it looked like I had pretty good contact, but and these were tightened. Yeah, I tightened it as far as I was comfortable with doing. I also thought it might have been this bung, but that has been sealed, and when you look from underneath, it is not coming out of that middle hole. So what we're gonna replace these with is these dowty seals. It's got the rubber insert protruded, so when you put them on, the sealing surface is, the rubber, and I think the metal part makes sure it doesn't crush. So if you buy a Mishimoto, this is a M20 connection. If you buy a Mishimoto, for like a M20 to an AN, they do come with dowty seals, and so I'm going to try to see what they would normally sell with these. I bought these in a kit that has many different sizes, and this is the M20 size. So I am going to put these on, clean everything up, and put these on and go. That looks like it had good contact as well. I did clean everything. I did make sure these were clean. And I did have proper crush, and I didn't go overboard. But when it was on the car, when it was leaking, I tried to tighten it more, and it didn't seem to help. So I'm gonna try these seals instead and put everything back together and see if it helps with the leaking issue. So basically, it's not quite lined up, so I'm kind of trying to thread it on by hand without making sure it's straight. And yep, there you go, took a bite. So so I completely tightened this side only because once you put them together, you'll see you don't really have room, so you kind of have to turn it like 1/8 of a turn, about 15 degrees every time. So I went ahead and got that all the way. So right now that is as tight as I can get it with my finger on there. And using a 30mm, now this is a problem, right? I can't quite turn it full the way because then I hit this side, so all right. So there's a little bit of oil from the line draining out. That's not anything from the connection there. So I have the connection all put together. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the old filter on, and then start the car again, and then see if the weeping issue comes back. So let me clean the filter, and let me jump in the car and start it. All right, I am under the car with it running, and there are no leaks. Honestly, I had to take it apart another time. It turned out the leak was the little port in between those two connections. I either forgot to tighten it down, or
I just needed extra thread sealant or taper it in there, but so I took it apart again and put it in. So now we are running good without any leaks. So I'm going to go ahead and let the car come up to temperature. That's a 185 F thermostat. I'm going to make sure everything is running well, and I'm going to button everything back up, and we're going to be done with the oil system part. I think that's going to conclude this episode, but thank you guys for watching, and follow for the next part. I think we'll have one more part.